our Conversations on Consciousness series. And in this session, in this interview, we have with us Swamini Svatmavidyananda Saraswati ji. Namaskaram, Swamini ji. Thank you so much for joining us.
Namaskar.
We will begin this session with an invocation. Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunattu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Swamini ji. Dr. Swamini Svatmavidyananda Saraswati has taught at several universities nationally, including UC Berkeley. She is widely recognized as a scholar of Advaita Vedanta and is a disciple of Pujya Sri Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji, an internationally known Acharya of the Advaita Vedanta tradition, interfaith leader and scholastic author of Vedanta, responsible for the inception of the All India Movement for Seva, a not-for-profit enabling rural Indian children to receive a proper education. Swamini is widely in demand for lectures and seminars in the USA and internationally for her expertise in interreligious engagement and in-depth training and scholarship on Advaita Vedanta. Swamini is the Acharya of Ashram Vijnana Gurukulam, which was founded in 2004 and has centers in Atlanta, Washington, D.C., Detroit, Milwaukee, and so on and so forth. Namaskaram once again, Swamini. And we usually begin our conversations by asking the speaker to share a little bit about their journey, what inspired them or took them towards the spiritual path, what were some of the significant life instances which led them towards this. And I must say, before I ask you to answer, it is always a pleasure to listen to you and to just be in your presence. So I'm really looking forward to this time and, listening to the conversation with you. So yes, this is my first question to you, Swami.
It is very kind of you. And it's always an honor and a joy to share some of these musings. Spirituality beckons when the questions in one's life outnumber the answers that one has. That is exactly what I think, and that is exactly what happened in my case as well. As you know, before I took on this life, in a previous life, so to speak, I was a university professor. And the many people, the students that I saw, they did not have a lot of questions about their assignment or about how to write this paper, or why did I get this grade and not that grade. So I found increasingly fielding completely unplanned and unprepared, fielding questions, very, very deep questions. Why are my parents like this? What is the purpose of my life? And when there are so many failures, how to keep going? These were the questions. And I did my best from the little bag of spiritual gems that we inherit from our family and everything if one grows up in the Sanatana Dharma culture. But the bag was almost empty. I could see that what I had was just stock remedies, stock examples, and helpful they might have been. I do not deny. But I felt like I lacked depth. I lacked the conviction that should be there in my responses to help those people. And so I said, I found myself telling one of the students one day, you know what? I said, I need to study and find this out more before I can respond to you satisfactorily. And that went into a feverish drive to find a teacher and to study with the teacher. And that is how I began my spiritual journey.
Wow, wonderful. And coincidentally, I read a very interesting quote today, written by Swami Tejomayananda ji of the Chinmaya order. He says, happiness is achieved when we try to make others happy and when we try to realize our true nature. And I think your answer summed up this so beautifully that it was for exactly these two reasons that you came towards the spiritual path. Wonderful. And so that leads me to the next question, Swaminiji. Who are the acharyas who have been a constant source of inspiration and guidance for you? Could you please share some interesting experiences you have had with them?
Yes, I have only studied with one teacher, and I think
Oh.
that has been a great blessing. Some people are blessed with more than one teacher. So, and my own teacher, Swami Dayananda ji, studied with three teachers. But somehow my path, my trajectory was just I was just a one teacher disciple. And it suited my temperament very well. So I will only speak about this one teacher. And we can be here all day, all night. I will not run out of stories. But for the sake of this conversation, I will highlight my first meeting with him, which really was very, very, very poignant in so many ways. And so I finally met him. I had heard a lot, and this was before the days of cell phone, email. Email was still in its infancy. No cell phone, no anything, social media, all these things where everybody is writing about their experiences and where all the gurus are coming on YouTube. All this was not there. And so so when I finally met him, I mean, it was just word of mouth. Everybody was saying he's so kind, he's so wonderful. And I stood in line, people were going into his room and coming out wreathed in smiles. And I said, oh, and then I would ask them, like, how was it or something. Even before asking them, they would blurt out, oh, Swamiji blessed me with this and said wonderful things about me and helped me with this, helped me with that. And I was just anticipating my turn. So when my turn came, the lady who takes care of Swamiji said, oh, I have to give him this cup of tea. Why don't you take it? So I took it. I had the tea, but then just sitting in front of him, I just forgot all about the tea. I was holding it in the lap. I was nervous, but I was also in awe. And it was just amazing. And then so then he helped me out and he pointed to my lap and he said, I think that must be for me. And so I said, yes, please take this. And, and so then he said, so what brings you here? So I told him I had been studying. I told him what I told you earlier, that the questions in my own life and the burgeoning questions of the people that I served was so much that I felt like I needed to have a deep look into the philosophy and into understanding who I was. And can he please accept me as his disciple? Can I study with him? So he said, yeah, yeah, of course, of course. And then he said, don't leave your job or anything. And then I said, well, Swamiji, it's a little too late for that. I have already left the job. And he was so surprised. He was rarely surprised in his life, but he was so surprised. And then I saw this transformation, a transformation from a benign father figure, compassionate, lovely Swamiji, to an Indian contemporary Indian patriarch. Like, what would an average father in India do when his offspring says, I'm going to become a sannyasi and I have left my job in order to follow some guru? So Swamiji turned into that kind of a quintessential conglomerate of this Indian patriarch. And he said, who's going to look after you? And this PhD will be wasted. And what kind of a how could you do this? And who will look after you? And how will you do this? You can't live on Vedanta. It will not pay the bills. And he just went on and on and on. And I just sat there confused because I just said, "What is happening over here?" And then he had turned into my father. He had turned into possibly most people's fathers in contemporary India. And so I just sat there, and thankfully, I think due to some grace, I recognized that this might be some kind of a test, and I have to just wait. So then he said, "What did you bring with you? Coming from the States, because I had just moved bag and baggage." So I told him, "I have 2 suitcases, Swamiji, and a cat, because I didn't know what else to do with the cat. I brought it here." And then so he you know, just mumbled. He just repeated what I said: 2 suitcases, cat, suitcase, cat, something like that. And then he dismissed me. The interview was over. I said, this is very unsettling. Everybody else came out in smiles, and here I am coming out like in shock. And what is going on? So I was going to leave. I really didn't want to be anywhere around his kutia. But then the lady who took care of him said, "No, no, no, just wait. He will come out. He's going out somewhere to give some talk, and then we'll bid him goodbye. And you just need to be around him. Don't leave." So thanks to her, I just hung around. And Swamiji came out in a little while, and then already all the people had gathered to bid him goodbye. He was going into Coimbatore to give a talk. And so everybody stood there in front of the car to wish him goodbye. And I was hanging back as I could, just backed up against the wall so that he would not see me or do anything. I wanted to be invisible. So the car almost left, and I was heaving a sigh of relief. But then it backed up and stopped again, and he rolled down the window. And he's looking like this. Everybody's saying, "What are you looking for?" And he said, "No, no, no, I want something." And then finally he saw me and he said, "You, come over here." That's all he said. "You, please come." And I just thought it was somebody behind me, except as I told you, there was just the wall behind me. So, so then finally I went. Everybody pushed me. They said, "He's wanting you. Just go." So then he said, "You can come with me. Please sit." So I sat in the back. I didn't even have my shoes because I was just there. I sat in the back. I had no idea where we were going. And the whole journey was completed in silence. And then I found out that he was addressing the police academy. And then he was giving a talk in Tamil. And then the first thing, I went and sat down. I said, "Okay, I'm here listening to this talk. It's wonderful. It's very nice." And then he began with the words, "It is for the sake of this knowledge that people travel 10,000 miles away with 2 suitcases and a cat." And then I felt strangely absorbed. And on the way back, he was just back to the old Swamiji that everybody knew. And it was just a very, very interesting, initiation into discipleship. In a way, I think it was like an exorcism. It was an exorcism of all the internalized oppression I had, where I had internalized all these ideas and thoughts about the society. And he just did an exorcism of that, so that he cleared the internal pathways, the mind, the heart, etc., to receive this knowledge without any impediments.
Beautiful, beautiful. So interesting, and in fact, it was very like touching to know this incident, and how Swamiji inspired you towards it. And the Guru have their ways. That's what often I hear. They have their way. We could never doubt it, but they know what's best for the student. And I think this is really, really attributing to that fact. So, I mean, lovely, lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Swaminiji. So, my next question would be the importance of following Dharma in today's context. Why does Dharma seem to be neglected in the world we inhabit today?
Dharma is inconvenient to the Dharma. First of all, I will just sort of define it for everybody. It is, I consider it a universal matrix of norms that everybody follows. Uh, many of which cannot be written down. Many of them are codified into law, but then it is just this adherence to this matrix of norms by people that makes for a harmonious and peaceful society. So this is what dharma is. Dharyate, that which upholds everything, upholds the whole society. So now this is very interesting. The dharma becomes inconvenient in the contemporary agenda of, in the contemporary world of the dog eat dog world, and everybody's agenda to get ahead and to get ahead fast. Dharma becomes inconvenient, highly inconvenient, because nowadays the ends justify the means. That's how it is. So that's how it is. My way or the highway. I want it no matter what. And I think that it is so. Having said this, it's like everybody wants a shortcut to fame, a shortcut to all the accomplishments of whatever their dreams and desires are, a shortcut to wish fulfillment. And it's always intriguing that in the Hindu Dharma, Hindu tradition, we have Dharma as the first Purushartha. Purushartha means that which is followed and desired by everybody. Sarvaihi Purushaihi Arthyate, which is followed and desired by everybody. And so therefore it is Purushartha. And so Dharma is the first Purushartha. And one can say, how is Dharma the first Purushartha, especially when I don't want to follow it? Who wants to follow it? Nobody wants to be kind. Nobody wants to be considerate. Nobody wants to tell the truth. Or I should say, very few people want to tell the truth. Very few people want to adhere to ethics. And you look in any area, religion, politics, everywhere, these transgressions of dharma are taking place. So why is the first Purushartha? I am certainly not wanting to be dharmic. So why has Bhagavan put it as the first Purushartha? The answer is very interesting. I may not be wanting to be dharmic, but I want you to be dharmic towards me. This is the idea. I want to be able to be allowed to defraud, to cheat, to lie, and to cause havoc in other people's lives. But I want you and everybody else to be kind to me and to not cheat me and to not tell me lies and to not violate my boundaries. So dharma becomes beloved indirectly as a bhokta, not as a karta. Bhokta means as a recipient. That's why it's the first Purushartha. So much so that even a thief, gets very outraged when his stash is so stolen. And that's why we have this section called dumb criminals. And so there was this man who was selling some kind of contraband substance. I think it was cocaine or something like that. And then he and his nefarious buddy, both of them went and they were supposed to stake out the neighborhoods and sell in the middle of the night. But then both of them felt very sleepy and they went to sleep. But actually, the so called buddy had spiked his drink and made this fellow asleep. And
Oh.
then he made off with the whole stash. It was no longer 50-50. And when the man came to, he found out what happened. He called the police. And he said, "Oh, I have been defrauded." And the police said, "Of what?" "Cocaine packets." And of course, they threw him in jail. And the buddy was also apprehended later. So he put himself in jeopardy. He was so outraged that he called the police, even though the stolen mal means, the stolen stash was stolen again. And so that much one loves dharma. But in a contemporary society of half knowledge, which is dangerous, and a society marked by no stopping, always going. There's a lot of pressure to succeed at any cost. And so there is violation of dharma because it is simply an inconvenient truth to follow. But having said this, I think that I think that for everybody that is violating dharma, at least one other person is upkeeping it. How do we know?
Hmm.
Because Lord Krishna or any other avatara has not come. Has not come.
Hmm.
Because in Dharma, still Bhagavad Gita is happening, still conversation with consciousness is happening, and still we are engaging in this kind of in this well-being for not just ourselves but for the whole society.
Lovely. Very, that was, in fact, the articulation of how it becomes inconvenient when we need to practice, but that's the first thing we expect while transacting or engaging, interacting with others. That's,
Exactly.
and making sense of it, of that possibly that is the reason why it is the first of the pursuits or purusharthas we have
Yes.
amongst the four.
Right.
Very, very beautifully put, Swamini.
All Guru.
And absolutely, absolutely. And so now, speaking of Advaita Vedanta as a system of knowledge, how do you think that it could address some of the global challenges in finding solutions for them, specifically mentioning some such as conflicts among nations and also environmental degradation? What are your perspectives on these?
Yeah. Advaita Vedanta is a body of knowledge that on the face of it doesn't have anything to do with the empirical reality, but really speaking has everything to do with how we view empirical reality. It makes us do a headstand on the perceived reality of names and forms. So previously, before Vedanta means the vision that the I is free of pain, sorrow, fear, etc. That is Advaita Vedanta. That the I is the self, is the only thing that there is. The self is equal to Ishvara, the cause of the universe, and the self is not separate from the Jagat and from its cause. Everything is one. So it is a philosophy, it is a body of knowledge that espouses oneness. So, in short, that is Advaita Vedanta, non dually one. Everything is one, nothing is away from me. So, this doesn't have anything to do with the universe on one level, because it is a highfalutin philosophy where you have to understand a lot of things. There is a whole background, and then if all that is there is just you, then what Earth, what solar system, what universe, what planet, and what nations, what conflict. On the one hand, that is there, but on the other hand, this view of Advaita Vedanta, the vision of Advaita Vedanta, can be very, very helpful in living this tumultuous and conflict ridden, as you said, reality, empirical reality. How this is so interesting because, uh, in short, the pursuit or the study of Advaita Vedanta is basically a study of oneself. And the study of oneself means that I don't mind other people's business. I am only interested in looking at me. And this is very, very important because generally speaking, we are interested in going into all other people's, what is this one doing there? Why is this one against me? Why is that one having that philosophy which is different from me? All these things. But Advaita Vedanta begins, in fact, not just Advaita Vedanta, spiritual pursuits and spirituality begins when I stop blaming and complaining about others and when I stop blaming and complaining about myself. That inner duality is what is healed. There is a Kurukshetra, the battle of Kurukshetra, the famous battle of Kurukshetra in the Mahabharata between the goodies, the Pandavas, and the baddies, the Kauravas. Here is happening inside. It's all an inside job. And so, if one is understanding this truth, then there is no need to engage in anything else. And of course, you will take care of the earth because it is an extension of you. Nature is an extension of human nature. And so the ecology becomes the earth is in on the very surface level example, we can say the earth is the mother. Earth is our mother. That's why we call it Mother Earth. But from the standpoint of Advaita Vedanta, the earth is just you. It's an extension of you. The trees are you, the sky is you, the air you breathe is you. And so naturally in the everyday, you will look after it. Why would you violate that? Why would you do that? And other countries are also you. It's not any different from that. And that's why in our history, we have had Rajarshis like Swami Vidyaranya. Rajarshi means the kingly sages, sages who advised kings. Swami Vidyaranya was like the actual king of the Vijayanagar Empire, we hear, and he used to do all the policy and everything like that, and that's why it was seen as some kind of a Rama Rajya. It was seen as Lord Rama's reign, where everybody was happy, because Advaita Vedanta gives you on the everyday level, makes you very objective to difficulties. Yes, this difficulty is here, how to deal with it. Objective to situations. And objectivity means there is no hate and love. It is just I hate this, I love this. It transcends all raga dveshas. Objectivity means I'm able to look at the situation and come up with a solution that is for the greatest good, the highest interest. And that is the beauty of Advaita Vedanta. People get scared all the time. People say, if I study this and if I understand myself and I am transformed, then I will not, I will just want to go off to the Himalayas. I will not want to work. I will not want to take care of the earth. I will not want to do anything. That's a myth, or it's some kind of a collective fear. It's not true. My own guru did a lot in his life. He was never sitting idle even for a second. And in fact, if you have this knowledge, you can do more because there is no pressure to do. When the pressure to do goes, you can do more because your outcome, you're not so outcome focused, and then you're not so worried about the agenda and how you will look and what will people think of you. And finally, you are able to be objective. And you do because you are spurred by a desire to help. And you do because of that. You don't act because it is in your own self interest. It leaves you free to do more.
Lovely. I think this aspect of freedom in action rather than freedom from action, have as you have laid it out, is the core in the philosophy and the essence of the teachings of Vedanta, which will help address these challenges. Very well said, Swamiji. And so moving on to another area of interest to me and to also many of our viewers is parenting. So what are your thoughts on present day parents? How could they incorporate some of the practices and also wisdom from Sanatana Dharma to transmit the values and wisdom to the next generation?
Children are gifts from Bhagavan, because you don't know what is going to come out. Even though you can say, okay, I have these genes, and then the parents can say, we have these genes, etc. This is what the child can look like, etc. But it's always a surprise. At some point, the parents wonder, was there was there a switch in the hospital, because they don't recognize this baby, this young child who is not like either of them. And then the child also wonders, maybe I am adopted and these people are not telling me. And because the connection is karmic. Yeah. Genetic to view, the empirical reason is genetic, but there is an esoteric reason why a child is born to you. And that's a karmic reason. There is something there. And that's why you don't have a say what this child is going to be like. You have no idea whether it's going to be a saint or whether it's going to be behind the bar. You have no idea how it's going to be. And that's why we accept it as prasad. In the tradition, children are named prasad. Hari Prasad, great flautist, Hari Prasad Chaurasiya, Ram Prasad, Durga Prasad, Devi Prasad, all this. It is prasada. Prasada is something you can't even translate. You can say that which comes from God or that which is received with glad acceptance, but it really doesn't do justice, those translations. Prasada, it is just something that has come. And so it's a gift from Bhagavan, and I have to take care of it. I take care of it. It is not, it is on loan, So many times you have these famous paintings on loan from such and such a museum, visiting this particular area, because the people everybody can't go to Paris, everybody can't go everywhere. So it's coming to your neighborhood, but it is on loan. So you go, you enjoy it, you do whatever you can to take care of it, and then it is wrapped up and sent back. Back to the museum from where it came, or back to the private collection from where it came. And so too with this, the children. They are on loan until they become adults. And as parents, one is just there as a caretaker, as a caregiver, as someone who is helping the child grow up properly with proper samskaras, discipline, etc., etc. Children are not extensions of you. You cannot be. As soon as you make them extensions of you, it's like a flower that wilts before it blossoms. Sometimes we see that there is some frost or something, or maybe the stem has got hurt and it's no longer fully connected and it just wilts even before it is blossomed. So we don't want that to happen to the children. Therefore, they should be allowed to thrive, allowed to express their upadhi, means the talents with which they have come. And the job of the parents is to encourage and highlight those talents and help them overcome their limitations. This is what it is. And this doesn't work if one is a controlling, this is called a helicopter parent. Chop, 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 hovering. Did you do this? Did you do this? I told you to do this. Why aren't you doing this? It's just terrible. That's one particular kind, that is a no, no helicopter parent. You have to trust your children. You have given them the wherewithal. Now trust them. And if they make a wrong decision, trust that they will have the wherewithal to come out of it. And you can't prevent everything that is going wrong from going wrong. You cannot. So So the helicopter parenting is not a very good model of parenting, and neither is the what is that? The helicopter parent is there, and then there is the parent who wants to become friends with the child, the guilty parenting. Because nowadays everybody has to work, father has to work, mother has to work, and they become very very guilty for not spending enough time with the children, and so they compensate by becoming over permissive and then wanting to become the child's friend. To those people who say, why, you can be friendly towards the children, but the child is not your friend. The child is not your friend. To such people who say that I want my child to be my friend, I will say, get a life. Go make some friends at your own age. Go make your friends. Here you're supposed to be a parent. You should be available for the needs of the child. And it is not, it is very disconcerting for the child to be parentified, meaning the child has to take care of you because you are taking care of the child. The child has to, of course, the child cannot cook and clean, but the child, or neither can the child go to office and, bring a paycheck. But the child, in such cases, sadly, becomes responsible for the emotional well-being of the parents. And this is something which is which should be looked into, especially in contemporary days. This is something happening. So the child is neither an extension of you, nor is your friend, like a small baby therapist waiting there to listen to you and to comfort you. That is not the job of the child. And the child is not there to be obedient. The child is there just to live its own life. And blessed are those parents who can recognize that and who can just let the child be the flower that blooms and spreads its fragrance without needing to lock up that fragrance and make some scent for themselves.
That's a very powerful metaphor. And to imagine that metaphor, that of a flower to blossom and to spread the fragrance, is very pertinent to understanding parenting
Yes.
towards the next generation. Lovely. Now this question is something that I have been holding, and could be a little mischievous, but nevertheless I will still ask, what is the better among the two, jnana or bhakti? Which path according to you ultimately leads to moksha?
Well, they jnana and bhakti are like it's like saying, if there is a cart, bullock cart or anything. So, which wheel is more important, the right wheel or the left wheel? That would be the answer. So, with one wheel, it cannot go. And let's say it has only two wheels. That's why I use the example of a bullock cart or something like that, which we know has from the past has two wheels. So, if one of them is not functioning, cart will not go forward. So, bhakti is the bhakti marga, as it is called in the contemporary times. This is a addition this is a contribution of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda first was one of the people who codified, one of the first people who codified bhakti into a highlighted bhakti as a path to moksha. And he needed to do that because of the socio-cultural and political milieu where he was operating. He needed to do that. And he needed to do that because, this was a time when bhakti was just out of the door. Everybody was just, it was a very difficult time, colonial oppression, everything. So he highlighted bhakti, but that is not a path according to the Shastra. Whether we look at the Upanishads or the Bhagavad Gita, two paths, quote unquote, paths means committed lifestyles are given. Jnana yogena sankhyanam, karma yogena yoga. So karma yoga is, so the knowledge is not, is common to both. It's just How is this knowledge pursued? Is the knowledge pursued to the to the exception of everything else? Solely knowledge, kevala jnana, or are you pursuing the knowledge while also gaining inner maturity by dedicating your actions for self growth? That is karma yoga. Dedicate your actions to Bhagavan Ishvara for your own self growth, and so that you qualify for this knowledge. Those are the two lifestyles. There is no path here, because you are what you want to be. Well, what is the path? What is the path between you and you? There is no path. There is no path at all. It's just you. And so the path, is comforting to look at because it's a committed lifestyle. What am I capable of? Am I ready to drop everything and then just pursue this knowledge? Because the problem is self ignorance and the antidote is self knowledge. The question is, how is this knowledge gained? That's all it is. So then, whether I want to do it full time or part time, this is what the Ishavasya Upanishad says. Kurvan eveha karma ani jiji vishet chatagam sama aha. And then that is the path of karma yoga. Again, we have to modify the meaning of the word path and understand it, as I said. And then, tena tyaptena bhunjitha magradha kasya svidhanam. That is the path of knowledge. Protect the self by giving up everything. And when you give up everything, you just focus on knowing who you are. You go to the guru, you study. That's all you do. And then whatever the other one also you study. It's not that you don't study. While studying, you also prepare for that in-depth understanding. That's all that there is. Because the path, question comes when the what I want is away from me. But it is not away from me, it is already me. So I have to understand it, I have to discover it. And that self discovery requires help of Guru and Shastra. And so this is the traditional understanding of how this knowledge is pursued. Swami Vivekananda put in Raja Yoga and other things, Bhakti Yoga, everything. And so that is not a traditional thing. But then Bhakti is very, very important. Because Bhakti means what? Discovering one's own fallibility. That one's own fallibility is covered and included in that which is infallible. That one's own limitations are included in the altar that is limitless. This understanding, this realization is bhakti. That even my finitude, my foibles, my limitations, and all the things about me about which I may be ashamed of myself, that is also a universal law. My thinking is part of the universal psychological law. And it is very easy to understand how, that's why it's a law. If somebody is angry, there is a reason behind that. Given this kind of a background in childhood, under these circumstances, anger will come. This is a law. It no longer becomes my anger. It no longer becomes my loneliness. It no longer becomes my sorrow. It becomes a universal law. And the universal law is a very, is another way, is a synonym for saying Bhagavan, Ishwar. So this helps you to Ishwarize the situation, if that's a word. And then in this Ishwarification of the whole universe, including your own fallibility and your own emotions, you are in awe. You want to be one with that, but you understand that you are already one with that. And even in the relative, relative everyday world, where every day seems like going through molasses or quicksand, I need help. I need to just have a place where I can let all these worries and cares rest. That is the altar of surrender. That is bhakti. That is why it's called the altar of surrender, because it has the power to alter you. That's why it's called altar. Um, you know. Spelling is different, but it's a little wordplay. That's all. And so this bhakti is a precursor to jnanam, because without that, atma jnanam cannot take place. There has to be that resolution. There has to be that acceptance. There has to be that relating to the whole. There has to be that yearning for the whole. And then where I'm able to resolve all the pains, sorrows, tensions, and recalcitrant, difficult, and pressure filled desires, then only I become qualified for this knowledge. So, should I follow bhakti or should I follow jnanam? Is like somebody asking, should I finish my high school diploma or should I get a PhD? One is incumbent on the other.
Okay.
There is no mukti without bhakti.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Swamini ji. And the way you answered it, saying how it is each incumbent on the other. And that is very, very essential in understanding the both and practicing them. Now, moving on to the next question. How does a day look like in the Arshavidya Gurukulam? I am very curious to know, and if at all there is an opportunity to be there and experience it, but also for the benefit of all the audience, if you could share a little bit about that.
I welcome you and invite you to come anytime. No problem.
Thank you so much.
At the ashram, in most ashrams, we have this in common with most ashrams. Most ashramites are morning people. So, so this is a normal thing. You will not find many night owls leading an ashram life. Morning people, you wake up early, and then we have the idea is to study without really needing to worry about all the things that one has to do during the course of the day when you come for a retreat, or when you come for a long-term study. This is actually a blessing of my own teacher, who had to really work very hard wherever he went to gain this knowledge. And he wanted for his students to really just study. And so we have meditation in the morning, we have puja in the morning, Abhisheka, Lord Dakshinamurti Abhisheka, and then puja. And then after that, we have meditation. And after meditation, there is breakfast. It's already provided. There are cooks who do that. And then the retreat participants may be asked to, cut a few vegetables or help arrange the tables or something, half an hour, 1 hour of Gurukula Seva. That's all there is after breakfast. And then the whole day, there is a series of classes. First, we have one class. There are 3 Vedanta classes. First, one in the morning, one just before lunch, and one again in the evening. And as though that is not enough, in between in the morning, there will be a Sanskritam class, and there will also be a chanting class that is also there. And then there is lunch. And after lunch, there is a couple of hours too, because people have woken up very early in the morning. They may need to rest, or they may need to just be by themselves. And then after that, there is yoga as well. And then yogasana is practiced because it keeps the body limber. It's very important. And then after the evening class, there is time again for a little walk or to just catch up with whatever one has to do during the day. And then after that, there is dinner. And then after the dinner, supper, whatever you want to call it, there is a 1 hour question and answer session. This, unlike the classes, it is very loose. And then there can be music there. People can come and share some bhajans. People can ask questions, and it's a time to get to know one another, a little less formally. And then, of course, by that time, everybody is ready for bed. And then the whole day starts again. This is our dinacharya, daily timetable. There is a beauty to it and there is a joy to it, because when you're there as a student, as a disciple, there's nothing to do except just focus on this. And then and you're studying with other people. so you can share insights. And I have heard that you make the best of friends in at the ashram, because you are a burgeoning person into this spiritual development and growth, and so you're looking for like-minded people, because the other people are no longer going to invite you to their parties because you're only talking Vedanta. So you better have a new set of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I think the empowerment also comes from the Sangha.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah.
Mm,
Yes.
correct.
And
Because
it,
you're
it,
a
it really,
Hmm. Because by the time you have gone for your second or third retreat, you're a misfit. You don't fit there. You're talking all just Bhagavad Gita all the time. Who wants to listen? They want to discuss, stock market and saris and things like that. And here you're spewing Bhagavad Gita. So better make new friends.
true. We meet lifelong friends
Yes.
with whom we share
Yes.
insights and discuss and churn.
And grow
Yeah.
together.
And that's
Yes.
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And now it's all the more a burning desire for me to experience it firsthand at the ashram. Yes. And could you please tell us more about the All India movement for Seva? What is its mission and how could one join it?
All India Movement for Seva, or AIM for Seva, was a um, venture, a movement that was started by my teacher. And I had the great good fortune of being with him in the formative years, and doing whatever little I could to be around and just understand and internalize his vision. And he would always explain it like this, that there are so many far flung areas in India, and they are called remote, they are called tribal. But really speaking, it's all just part of oneself. And he would say, if supposing I have a cut in the little finger, the little finger is hurting because I cut my little finger. I don't say my little finger is remote to me and I should just neglect it because it is somewhere, it is a small little appendage somewhere. In fact, the whole of me becomes a mother to this little finger. I keep blowing on it, I keep bandaging it, keep putting balm and salve on it, and I'm very, very interested in taking care of it until it is totally healed. And this is exactly the so-called remote areas of India. They are just an extension of ourselves. And that is how they have to be viewed. And it's just like the little finger or the little toe being jammed in the door. And then that needs attention right now. And so that is why it's a movement, because there is a certain way in which there is ownership. Swamiji started by looking at children's education, especially in rural areas. Schools are there, but the houses are somewhere far away, and often they have to cross forests, these children. And nobody sends them to school. The attrition rate is very high because of the fear of wild animals. So wherever there are schools in the district level, we started to build chhatralayas, or what is that called? Student homes, where the students stay, they are fed, they are given an all-round education, hobbies are encouraged, games and sports are encouraged. They're given nutritious meals, protein powder, everything. And in the weekend, they can go home if they want. Although how it is usually is that the weekend the parents come and stay there with the children, and the students don't want to go home at all, and the parents come and stay, and the parents also love the chatralaya, and so like this it started, and then there are there's more than 100 of them all over the country. So you can sponsor a child, you can sponsor a chatralaya, like supposing if there is some kind of a legacy somebody receives from their parents or something like that, grandparents passing away or something like that, then you can build a chatralaya or a floor of the chatralaya named after those people. who have donated. You can do like that, whose estate is helping to do that. So you can do that. And doing that makes it which is something which is really, really wonderful, because then you have owned up that place. You have owned up those children, kind of become your children. And so like this, there is that, and then there is a way in which all the teens, the second generation children, in the Indian children in the United States and elsewhere, are getting involved. So they go every year and to visit these chatralayas, take the children gifts and talk to them. And so they go on a little tour every year, and they go do something in their own schools and colleges to help raise funds. So it's very easy to join. You just donate, you just do whatever you can. And it is just a wonderful way of giving back something which the motherland has given us and continues to give us.
This is so beautiful and very noble. And thank you so much for sharing about the mission and how people could join the endeavor. And I mean, I wish we could go on and on, but I think we could do this another time and continue these conversations. And it was really, really enriching and inspiring to to just listen to you, Swaminiji, as always. So once again, yeah.
I must commend you, because when you sent that list of questions, when I got this early morning, when I saw that, I just said, "Oh, that how is he going to cover all these questions?" But you did it. You are amazing. You are just meant for this, and you are just such a bright light in the firmament of Indica workshop. And so I just pray for your long life, good health, and may you continue to do all that you are doing to spread the Sanatana Dharma, the glory of Sanatana Dharma.
Thank you so much, Swaminiji, with all your blessings and wishes.
Take
Once
care.
again, thank you so
All
much.
the best. Om Tat Sat.